This is Senior Airman David DeBrittany, reporting from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Florida. We're here waiting for the launch of the Delta IV GOES-P mission, and we're about to show you the crew that comes down here from Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi, for every launch as part of the 85th Engineering Installation Squadron team that comes down here to monitor electromagnetic interference for some of the very delicate systems that guide the rockets on their way to the stars. These are the subject matter experts of the subject matter experts here. The only team in the DoD that does this, and we're going to show you some of the things they do and shine some light into a little scene corner of the launch business. Tell me your full name and your official duty title.
My name's Robert Wilson. Everybody calls me Nick. I'm a senior electronics engineer with the 85th Engineering Installation Squadron at Keesler Air Force Base.
Okay. And just tell me, give me a quick rundown of what your role is during a launch when you come out here.
We have two primary roles during the launches. One is to do the beacon interrogation testing, where we actually determine whether the beacon, which acts as an aircraft transponder, is working properly before a launch, so that the radar systems here can track the space vehicles all the way downrange, and the beacon allows them to stay acquired on it. My role in this is to do the interference work for telemetry, the beacon, the radars, and for flight termination systems. My primary goal is to make sure there is no interference near or inside the guard bands on flight termination frequencies.
And where can some of that interference come from? What have you seen in the past?
We did have an incident in November with Shuttle Atlantis where an airborne radar caused interference that threatened to scrub the launch, but we identified what it was in time to have them turn off, and so it didn't affect the countdown.
Let's see. So I understand that sources of interference can be, you said that came from an aircraft, so that can be something as large or as small as a video camera, as I understand it?
Well, we just had an incident a few minutes ago when you showed up and I started seeing some energy near the flight termination, but it was because of the wireless microphones and the camera. Although it won't affect the launch, I did see it on my equipment.
Now, I believe you mentioned earlier that you're unique in the fact that you're the only unit in the Air Force, and I believe the entire Department of Defense, that performs this role, and it's not just for the space business, but also in several other endeavors as well.
We are the only organization in the Air Force. We're primarily responsible for electromagnetic radiation hazards, electromagnetic compatibility surveys, high-altitude electromagnetic pulse testing for nuclear events, and I'm the person in charge of interference for the Air Force in solving and resolving any interference issues to any type of electromagnetic emitter or receiver.
So how many launches have you worked out here at Cape Canaveral?
We started watching these launches last summer around June or July, but we took over on October the 1st. And then we have done every NASA and 45th Space Wing launch since October the 1st. I've been here for all but one of them.
Now, I understand that the interference monitoring business, for lack of a better word, goes back to the 1960s, so you're part of a very long tradition of making sure that space vehicles get to where they're supposed to go.
In 1961, there was a program started with the Joint Electronic Warfare Center and the MEGI program for interference reporting, also for EMC and radiation hazards. Back then, we weren't called the 85th Engineering Installation Squadron, it was called GEA. Then it turned into the 1839th Engineering Installation Group. Then we were the 738th Engineering Installation Squadron, and now we're the 85th. But all of this started in 1961, and we've been doing the interference for the Air Force since 1961.
Very good.
So,
we're in the middle of a countdown right now that we're listening to range control. Range control can direct me to do whatever I need to do, and it's also talking to my partner over in the beacon band.
Okay. So do you have the authority to scrub a launch, or do you just simply pass on the information when interference comes up on your instruments to scrub a launch?
When I see the interference, I'll report the interference to range control. They will determine whether the interference is of significant amplitude to scrub a launch. I don't have the authority to scrub it. I just point it out. They look at it on the telemetry end and on the receive end near the aircraft, and they are the ones that make the decision whether to scrub or not.
Okay, so we've got a couple of vehicles here, I noticed. We've got the blue vehicle, blue van, and you've got this white van. So maybe you could just take a few moments and explain the purpose of both of them.
Right. We have another van that we typically use for the launches down here. It's a little faster. It has a telescoping mast on it, but it was in for repair, so we decided to use our spare beacon van. And I brought this one, which is we use for interference work in other areas of the country, to be a quick response vehicle. Okay. So in other words, if we had an interference event happen, we could monitor it from the big van. This van has also got an automatic direction finder in it and a spectrum analyzer and directional antennas.
So those antennas kind of narrow in and they rotate, I guess? And
yes.
How high can they go?
Well, this one could actually go up 15 feet.
Okay.
We don't really need that here because it's so flat. Right. We don't have to get above anything. But the antenna that you see on the front that looks like a little green, that has got an amplifier in it. That is a radio direction finding antenna. This system, this radio direction finding system, is about $65,000.
Wow.
It is really good. But this vehicle could take off real fast. It wouldn't have to take anything down.
Gotcha.
And as it goes off, we also have another automatic direction finder on top of this vehicle.
Gotcha.
So as it's moving, we can triangulate a source, and then we will know where the source is before we get there.
Nice.
If it's a moving source, we will determine that early on.
Well, that's good.
So it's it's dual capability. When our primary van, we left it behind, we just go ahead and do whatever we got to do with what we got.
I am Staff Sergeant Patrick Rowland. I am from the 85th EIS from Keesler, Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base. I am an RF transmission systems technician, and our primary duty in my office is radio direction finding. And what we're doing here is we are making sure that there is no interference on the flight termination frequencies.
So just tell me, what is the purpose of having this vehicle here and the main vehicle that's parked just in front of us?
This vehicle is our mobile test lab. We can, if we pick up a signal that might be interfering, we can go and find that signal with this vehicle. It's just a lot more easier. It's a lot more mobile. We can just pick up and go if we have to.
So you mentioned that this is your first time coming to Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and witnessing a launch. Just tell me some of your thoughts on being part of the launch business that the rest of the 45th Space Wing kind of takes for granted, and the fact that you're here for the first time.
I think it's really interesting being here for a rocket launch. I've always wanted to be able to see one of these real up close and personal, and it's really neat being able to be a part of such an important part of it, is to make sure that nothing goes wrong, and I feel like I'm playing an important part in it.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Rowland. And amid a beautiful glow and a roar like thunder, the Delta IV Goes P project soars up to the distant heavens. And what a marvelous sight it is. From Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, I'm David DeBridney, Senior Airman. as the Delta IV GOES P project soars toward the distant heavens. It's been a wonderful night out here at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. I'm Senior Airman David Dobridny.